command. My friends, I'm calling it.
Prepare for
In
battle!
the bag. Sha sha. Summoned forth. Indeed. At my command.
Hello, everybody.
Attack.
30 seconds to battle.
Pitched battle. From the shadow. By the power of Goroth.
The battle begins!
Darkness stalks. Dark litany.
First blood!
First blood. Mordekar. Hear my word. Avowed. I go. I command it. Mortor cheer. Indubitably. Pipsqueak. Astride the night. Indeed. Fear me. Sworn of shadows. Caramba.
Just wide.
San Carabos. Chaos crush you. Karaka. By the power of Goroth. Kar Korzan. Hear my word.
Hi.
Your soul to crush.
finish.
Indeed. Summoned forth. Garagaza.
What?
Cry havoc. Astride the night. At my command. The coals frighten. Dark litany.
The enemy has a bone to pick with your middle tower.
I grew. Your soul to crush. I'm under attack. I command it.
Your middle
Heart
tower is
racing.
under attack.
From the shadows.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Fit for a queen.
So Sazam. Gather darkness. Around. Indeed. By the power of Goroth. Really? You just did that?
Your middle tower
Coming
is
down like
under
this.
attack.
Oh, yes.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Hear my word.
The enemy has a bone to pick with your middle tower.
Demon's wrath.
Killing spree! Your top tower is under attack. Your middle tower is under attack.
The fiends will welcome me.
spree!
This has no command over me.
Come on, sprites.
Summon forth.
The enemy has a bone to pick with your middle tower.
My flame lights your trail.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Avowed.
Your middle tower has fallen. It could be worse. Or could it?
Summoned forth.
Your middle tower is under attack.
Come. Hear my word. Indubitably. Mordakaramon. Oh, yes. I command it. Ashes grow cold. Twill be night for all soon enough. From the shadows, I go. At my command. Zan Korabos Kor Koramord. Avowed. Go.
Double kill!
I go.
Your top tower is being hacked to pieces.
Mordakar.
Your top tower is under attack.
Hear my word.
Killing spree!
Feel
Your top tower has fallen. Killing spree!
his silence.
Your top tower is being hacked to pieces.
The shadow passes.
Your top tower is under attack.
By my monster. I'm under attack. Indubitably. Indeed. Indeed.
Dominating!
I
Double kills!
Mordaka. By the power of Goroth. Summon. Rich. Sha sha. I command it. Oh, yes.
Killing spree! Double kill! Double kill! Your top tower is under attack!
From the embers.
Your top tower is under attack! Axe is glad that your bottom tower is not Axe's problem! Your top tower is under attack! Killing spree!
Chaos. Come.
Killing spree! Double kill!
Fucking.
Your bottom tower is under attack! Your bottom tower is under attack!
And I command.
Regeneration. Good luck next time.
is being hacked to pieces! Wicked sick!
A new page in my book of shadows.
Radiant's towers are fortified, just like Axe. Dire's courier has been slain. Axe is glad that your bottom tower is not Axe's problem. Your bottom tower is under attack.
Hear my word.
Monster kill!
Indubitably.
Bloody.
Double kill!
Warlock. I command it. At my command. I go.
Selfish. Time to hide in plain sight.
Karabos. Karabos.
Killing spree!
Chorus.
The enemy's bottom tower has fallen! Double kill! Good day, sir, indeed!
Who's the hunter now?
Mordakaramon. Ko. Indeed. Chaos.
The enemy's middle tower has fallen! Surprising! given the lack of axe. Double kill! Another life squandered. your bottom tower is not Axe's problem!
Your soul to crush.
Puny Radiant hides behind their fortifications! The enemy's middle tower has surrendered to gravity! Your top tower is under attack! The enemy's middle barracks have fallen! The enemy's middle barracks have fallen! The chance to put your axe to the feet of you! Your top tower has fallen!
By the power of Goroth. Mine. At my command. I go.
Fleet feet.
I command it. Summoned forth. Hear my word. Under pain of death, fear.
The enemy has a bone to pick with your middle tower. Your middle tower has fallen.
Indeed. Indubitably. I'm under attack!
The enemy's bottom tower. That's approved. Mega kill! Double kill!
Yes. Swamp
Twill be night for all soon enough. Chaos crush you. Indeed.
The enemy's top tower has fallen.
Summoned forth. By the power of Goroth. I command you, go forth. Dark litany. It's not time yet. Fear me.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Illusion. avowed. Indeed. Karabos Koraman.
Your bottom tower is under attack. Tower has fallen. Do not blame Axe. Your top tower is under attack. Dire structures are fortified. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower is under attack. Your top tower has fallen. Axe was not involved.
Chapter in my black grimoire. The Gyre of Evil takes you.
Axe wishes Axe could defend your top racks. Killing spree!
Words of power. Indubitably.
Times take you.
I go.
Radiant structures are fortified with 12 important vitamins and minerals. Attack! Time to channel your middle barracks have fallen!
Chaos minion.
Your middle barracks have fallen! Your edge needs sharpening!
Hear my word. Your soul to corrupt darkness seals you. By the power of Goroth. Summoned forth.
Killing spree! Killing spree! The enemy's bottom tower has fallen! Your middle tower is under attack! Like axe, the dire structures cannot handle the enemy's bottom barracks. Dominating!
Not yet.
Dominating! Your middle tower is under attack!
Chaos crush you.
Dire's courier has been slain! Your middle tower has fallen! The enemy has a bone to pick with your middle tower.
Oh, yes. Unhallowed ground.
Your top barracks are under attack! Those with eyes to see have covered them. Your top barracks have failed you. Curse your top barracks!
I go.
Look at your racks. Now look at Axe. Only one of us is still standing. Your middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen. Mega kill. That's wicked. It was you instead. Is under attack. Listen to Axe. Unstoppable! Your ancient is under attack. Listen to Axe. To the radiant. Your ancient needs protection. Say, does Axe get a cut?
Can you believe this?
That's localized. We know it's a field. It's non-local. It's connected. It's omnipresent everywhere. Like you are the infinite creative matrix, matriz. And the word matriz in Spanish also means womb, something that's infinitely creative. The results are basically comparable to like a moderate dose of psilocybin. So after that paper then got some press, there was such a kickback from the psychedelic community saying, like, how dare you compare some digital piece of crap to the power of psychedelics? I was like, wow.
How are you on that view when it comes to technology in general and sort of transcendence?
Oh man, you open a can of worms here.
A very warm welcome at the Essentia Foundation YouTube channel. I'm sitting down in Porto, and across the table is David Kawaki. David, warm welcome.
Hey, thanks. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, and sorry for my voice. I have a bit of a cold. I didn't want to miss this one. You are an interdisciplinary researcher, artist. You have a PhD in physics, molecular physics.
Yep.
And we just did a wonderful VR experience together. All to just capture how broad your field of work is. And you run the Intangible Realities Laboratory in Santiago de Compostela.
Intangible Realities Laboratory, IRL.
And the experience we have is just wonderful. You translated a transcendent experience you had into VR. And what I loved about it is that it touched me deeply emotionally earlier today. So thanks for that. And I love how you bring together all these worlds because it was like a mystical VR experience. But it is also compatible with physics, and that I love. So I thought maybe nice for this conversation for the audience who do not know you yet to maybe start with where this all started for you with like a mountain walk in 2006 that went wrong, right?
So it depends how far we want to go back, but I guess I had a near-death experience in 2006 where I fell from a significant height while in the mountains, and I had a sort of potent, I guess, what would now be called a near-death experience. I think at the time that I had that experience, the field of researchers working in this area hadn't necessarily, it wasn't so established as it is now. And so, but yeah, effectively what happened to me was I kind of fell from a great height, and then I had severe multiple trauma. And one of the things that happened was I had a thoracic contusion. So effectively, like the blood from the vessels around my heart were leaking into my lungs, and I was suffocating. And I laid on the ground for 3 or 4 hours before I was rescued. And I was effectively drowning. Like every breath became more and more labored. So you know, like literally gasping for air. And yeah, during that time, I had an experience which I remember still very, very poignantly, where I kind of separated laterally from my body, and then I it's like my awareness was like outside my body, orbiting my body, like the Earth going around the sun or something. And then I kind of saw my body as this light, this luminous light that was pulsing. And the pulsation was synchronized perfectly with my breath. So as I would inhale, the light would get a little bit brighter, and as I would exhale, it would get a bit dimmer. But what was happening is as my breath was becoming more and more weak, as my like lung capacity was diminishing, the sort of amplitude envelope of the breath was getting smaller and smaller. And so I was perceiving this light to get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. It was becoming smaller and smaller. And I kind of knew that the moment at which that light disappeared would kind of mark the end of this physical body. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was an incredibly peaceful experience. It was there's no fear associated. It was like a very kind of like open curiosity as to what would come next, and I felt like a massive sense of relief, actually, right? It felt almost a bit like as the light was diminishing, it wasn't necessarily disappearing. It was more kind of losing its structure and melting into the fabric of everything else. Which I have my PhD in computational molecular physics, and for me as a chemical physicist, that's actually what happens to our physical bodies with time. We actually our sort of equilibrium state for every single person is like a bucket of liquid, right? So in fact, that's exactly what happens to us. We melt into the fabric of everything else. And so I kind of had a sense that was happening, but in a sort of a psychic domain, I guess you could say.
Pain or
there was no pain. No pain. There was no pain at all. I think a lot of the accounts I've read of people that have accidents or trauma, there's very rarely pain. It seems like your brain at a certain point, your brain recognizes that there's no survival value to pain reception. So pain just turns off. So the pain started like during the recovery. Like that was when the most intense pain I've ever experienced in my life. That was when I wished I hadn't necessarily come back to this physical body.
That was the traumatic part.
Yeah, that was the traumatic part. Yeah, exactly.
And you beautifully, during the experience in which let people with VR goggles on experience. Basically, you translated this beautifully into VR. And I experienced it myself today. Mm-hmm. And I could sense exactly what you're describing. That somehow, of course, with less intensity, I could sense that light is me. That was sort of what the experience did with me. But I felt bliss with light returning to the void, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a beautiful, I've heard you say this in presentations before, that void, that darkness you might say, is actually full of light in a sense. Could you sort of explain that from your physics perspective? I loved how you said that earlier.
Yeah. There's one kind of metaphor that I've returned back to a lot, which is this idea that we typically imagine the blackness. We imagine darkness in our conventional aesthetics that we carry around. How we imagine black or darkness as being nothing.
Yep.
And so a lot of the source of our fear arises from the fact that we imagine it to be nothing, because we think we like ourselves and we like our lives and we like our stuff and our family and our friends and our whatever. And part of fear arises from the fact that we think that that's nothing. But there's another way of imagining darkness, which is that, in fact, darkness is everything. Okay, and so one metaphor that I return back to a lot is if you have ever gazed up into the night sky and you look at the sky and you think, oh wow, it's dark, it's deep space, it's nothing. And so you kind of look and you see blackness. I had this kind of moment when I lived in Peru for a while, and I was like staring up in the sky, and I saw the blackness of the sky, and I was like, oh, it's nothing. And then slowly I watched the moon rise over. I had this like super cool like art studio in the jungle, and it had a glass ceiling. It was just like laid out looking up. And then the moon started to sort of translate across the sky, and then the moon was bright, but we all know like the moon doesn't radiate light. So this moment where I kind of realized like, oh, all of space is full of light, right? But the only light that I perceive is light that's reflected back at me, right? And then so if you just carry that a step farther, you realize like everything everywhere is completely full of light. Like darkness does not mean that there's no light. Darkness means that like no light is reflected directly back at you. But it doesn't tell you anything about the essence of what is there originally. And there's another. So if you can carry this even like a step farther, right? You can say, well, a lot of. So if we just let's think about darkness instead of it being the absence of anything. Let's think of it being the sort of the fertile, infinite source of everything, right? So if I give you a piece of paper and a white piece of paper, and I give you like some colors, and I tell you to draw structures on that piece of paper, and I just tell you to draw like an infinite number of structures. Well, you're going to start drawing structures on the paper, and before too long. As long as all those structures are superimposed on top of each other, your paper is going to turn dark because it doesn't matter what pigment you're using, the paper will eventually turn black. And then somebody's going to walk into the room like 20 minutes later and be like, well, why did you draw nothing? And your answer is going to be, I didn't draw nothing, I drew everything. And so what you perceive as like what is darkness for one person, from your perspective, is actually the infinite source of like everything that there is, right? And so we this is just to like this kind of is a useful thought experiment to go into, because so much of like the representations that we carry around in the world is affected by the aesthetics that we have in our head and the images that we have in our head. And for whatever reason, we tend to think of white as being something and black as being nothing. But you could just as easily think of white as being nothing and black as being something. I mean, in fact, in color theory, it's more interesting, right? Because I'm an artist. So in color theory, actually, there's two different ways. So if you combine all the colors, right? So if I put a color on a piece of paper and then the light hits it and then it bounces off, I perceive it as red. because it absorbs everything except red. So red is what comes back to me. So that's like the absorptive way of thinking about colors. Color is some absorption. And so you can, if you layer up colors, eventually you just absorb everything. So nothing comes back to your eye, right? And so in an absorptive way of thinking about color theory, black is actually all the colors. But in a radiative way of thinking about color theory, so this is how Newton thought about colors. Then colors radiate. So if I combine like red, green, and blue together, if I combine an infinite number of colors together, but instead of being absorptive, they radiate the color. If I'm doing computer graphics, this is important. If I want to get white, I have to combine colors together, right? To get white instead of black. But if I'm doing things on a piece of paper, I combine colors together to get black. If I'm doing things on a computer screen because the pixels radiate light out, I get exactly the two poles by combining all the colors. And so there's this really arbitrary decision we've made that for some reason blackness is nothing. But it's like I don't know why we do that. That's just like shows you how like sometimes the models we carry around in our head are based on the artistic images that we have. And so all this is to say that you can think of blackness as being a source of everything. And so this was like quite a deep meditation I had during this near-death experience. It's like, well, it didn't feel like nothing. It definitely didn't feel like nothing. It felt like everything, but it was dark. So like, what is going on? And so these are some like analogies I've been working through for how to imagine the blackness as the sort of source of like the infinitely creative fertile matrix for the existence of everything, as opposed to the absence of something. And I think a lot of our fear, when it comes like being afraid of the dark, or being afraid of death or something like that, comes from we think of it as being nothing, right? And so a lot of people that work in consciousness science like to ask this question, well, is so amazing because why is there something rather than nothing? And my question is, well, why is there one thing rather than everything? Right? Like, actually, that's another way of asking the same question. Like, I told Christoph this, I'm like, every time you give a talk, you're like, why is there something rather than nothing? I'm like, why is there one thing rather than everything? Right? Like, that's another way maybe of asking the same question in a different way.
So much of what you're saying is, like for me, true novel way to understand non-dualism, to see that nothingness is in essence everything. It's just very beautiful. I think it's very important when we talk about Brahman and nothingness, that it's actually everything. And then also, for the light we want, to let's say we want that reflection back. Let's say, hearing you talk makes me think that might be a form of self-knowledge in that void, something reflecting back that I then can say that's me, that's that point of light. It needs to reflect back, so it needs something to reflect on. So there we have our first sort of separation in the universe, we have the first boundary, so to speak. So I think this is all just a beautiful metaphor for better understanding non-duality. I love that about your work, and I'd love to explore a bit deeper this line of thinking, sort of metaphorically linking the physics with non-duality and the experiential side of it in these experiences, because you bridge at all. You talked about David Bohm calling matter just being frozen light.
Yeah, all matter is frozen light.
Yeah. Would you sort of explore that? Because in your experiences, it's about light. As we're sitting here, it's also a very material experience. So the material me, the light me, the frozen light me. What are your thoughts there?
So, like I did a lot of my PhD was in like computational molecular quantum mechanics, and like quantum mechanics is weird, and I think like everybody knows that it's weird, and it's like I think Feynman famously said that if somebody tells you they understand it, that they don't understand it, right? So, but one thing about quantum mechanics that's interesting and it's quite simple, but often overlooked for like the more exotic ideas is the fact that one of the key insights that arises from quantum mechanics is that what we imagine as material is in fact some energetic wave thing, right? I mean, the Schrödinger wave equation effectively says if you have something that you think is material, has a mass, has some motion. Actually, there's a totally alternative description to that thing, which is as some dynamical energy wave that's some smeared out, blurry thing that's unbounded and goes to infinity on both sides.
It's a field of possibilities.
It's a field. And so there's a really key. There's a really profound change of like thinking in terms of small bounded particular Newtonian billiard balls to something that's like the smeared out energy thing. And I think the reason that that's important in terms of our worldview is because when we think about like a marble or a billiard ball or some particle, we think of something that's bounded, that has a finite space to extent, and it's like quite localized. And when we think of things as just changing the name to like wave or field, now we think of something that has an infinite space to extent and is unbounded and is dynamic. And so those are two very, very different metaphors for how you think about things. And so, and for me, like one of the key things I like to think about when it comes to quantum mechanics is the fact that like all of what you think of as material is in fact energy. Like why don't like everything is dynamic all the time. Everything is vibrating waves, right? And so like you look at the glass and you're like, oh well, it doesn't look like it's moving. Well, the reason it doesn't look like it's moving is because it's moving so fast. That's why it doesn't look like it's moving, because it's moving so fast. You know how when you see a fan, like a fan is moving, and when the fan is slow, you can see the blades moving. But when you speed it up, it just looks like a solid disc, right? Well, this is moving like a billion times faster than that, right? So of course it looks like it's solid because it's moving so fast. Right? Like, well, why don't I fall through the chair while I'm sitting here? Well, I don't fall through the chair because, like, there's two fields that can't pass through each other because they're both moving so fast, right? And so when you start to think about things in terms of, like energy waves and dynamics, it's a very different way of imagining things. And when we think about the classic thing you can do in the discotheque, right? If you have a cigarette, right, and you hold it, then you see it as a point. And if I just start to spin it, eventually you see a circle, right? So it looks like a continuous object. It's not a continuous object. It just looks like a continuous object because it's moving at a perceptual speed that you can't perceive. And that's... But it's not actually like that, right? And so like the beauty of even atomic and molecular physics showing us these things is that we know things behave in this completely other way, but we become attached to these representations of things as being material. And so
to our bodies being solid, I think.
Yeah.
But in your VR experience, which you call like a pneumonic experience. So the pneuma, it's from the Greek.
Like breath or spirit. Yeah, it's the same root as the word numinous.
And you let people breathe. And we had to sort of like open our with our we call them
your mudra lights.
Yeah, exactly. Then you truly have the experience of being light being wave-like because you see your heart going out. And this is all talk that people in spiritual communities are very familiar. This is just saying that it's all energy, man, we're all connected, I can feel your energy. And we often regard that as sort of new agey talk and not compatible with physics. But after your VR experience, well, not compatible. I could feel it, right? I could feel it in a sense. And you just saying that it feels like matter because it's moving so fast. is your experience where I could sense my energy going out. The two of us meeting energetically. Is that closer to truth and sense than me sitting here in a body of matter, solid, separate from you?
I think it becomes a question of like the mental model that we carry around. So, I mean, you know, clearly there is a way of. So the first thing I should say, I guess, is that like the scientific method relies on like analysis, right? So like it literally analysis means like cutting things up, right? So that's what the scientific method does, right? So the scientific method that we have evolved, you know, over the last 400 years or whatever, is fundamentally a method that relies on like splicing things up into smaller bits in order to understand them.
Yeah, reduction.
Yeah, so it's no real surprise that we've kind of landed at this like constellation of concepts to understand ourselves scientifically. I mean, famously, like Descartes was like cutting apart animals in order to understand them, right? And there's a level of understanding when you cut something up, but there's also like a loss of understanding when you cut something up, right? So, for example, kill it. So that's the most glaring like omission, right? So you gain something, but you also lose something. But you know, so it's like when you're talking to me right now, like there's a few different ways I could describe that, right? I mean, I could either say like Hans is talking to me, or I could say like, you know, that in fact like I am enabling Hans to speak, because like what I hear as your voice is a function of like the receptors that I have in my ears that translate whatever comes out of vibrations come out of you into sound, right? So you can say the sun is shining, or you could say like I am shining the sun, right? Because the experience of heat that I experience on my body is the result of the fact that like my physical organism has a certain form that enables me to experience that, right? So you know, you can just go on and on with this. Like, do I describe myself as like a receptor of what comes to me, or do I define myself as a receptor of other things that arrive at me as a site of perception, or do I describe myself as the active constructor of whatever's coming to me, right? You can do it both ways. Because like what we experience is a function of what we are able to experience, right? Like there's vibrations around us that are translated into certain forms of sensation based on like the morphologies that we have. And so I just think it's important to remember that like your voice is just as much an active construction by me as it is by you, right? And so I mean, this is like the whole non-dual thing. It's like I can choose whatever perspective I want to describe these things.
But in quantum mechanics, the whole distinction about knowing and what is known, like and the epistemic and the ontic is knowledge and what's really out there and how they become. I heard this, I think it was Suzak's student of John Wheeler who called it sort of like epiontic. So he said like knowing and what is known now becomes one. Like Wheeler was also about all of that, and quantum mechanics points to it. But somehow it doesn't very often translate into our lives where we do think there's this clear cut between you and me, what I can know about the world. I think these experiences you design help us to experience. I'm curious.
Let me just return to one other question you asked, which was you asked about this kind of spiritual definition of energy.
Yeah, versus
the physics definition of energy. And I mean, I think that comes up a lot. So, you know, in physics, we have certain mathematics that allows us to describe the properties of, like we have the laws of thermodynamics, for example, that allows us to describe the transformations of certain kinds of energies into other kinds of energies. You know, we have rules like to first law, which is like, the total energy is the closed system is constant, right? So energy can either be created or destroyed or only change form. We have these laws of thermodynamics that tell us things about entropy and these things. And in spirituality, they also talk about energy. I don't necessarily like to be like, so obviously if I want to design a steam engine, or if I want to design a refrigerator, then I want to use the laws of thermodynamics, because that's the better language for that. Okay, if I want to like understand why I have an ache in my lower back, or a pain in my spine, well, then maybe actually the energy system derived by traditional Chinese medicine is actually a better way of thinking about that. Maybe actually thinking about the body in terms of the connected energy meridians and what stretches I can do is a better way of thinking about that. Because in that case, like the laws of thermodynamics are going to be very helpful. So I think so. What all this hints at is the fact that. So I should say I'm a trained yin yoga instructor. I've practiced yin yoga for 15 years. It's actually the reason I can walk after my accident. So I personally really like that system. It's the reason that I can probably not be in a wheelchair and be talking to you. And I'm glad I didn't use, the first law of thermodynamics to try to solve my problems with my lower back pain, right? Because otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to walk. For me, what's important is, so there are energy does crop up in different discourses for sure, but I think what that hints at is the fact that our aesthetic of energy is almost like an intersection point for spiritual traditions and scientific traditions. Because the metaphor that we carry around us, energy is a metaphor that is fundamentally unifying. Right, we don't imagine energy as something that's bounded, that's finite, that's localized. We know it's a field, it's non-local, it's connected, it can change forms, it's fluid, it's mobile, it's omnipresent, it's everywhere. It flows, it's not static, stationary. And so those poetics of energy applies just as much to physics as it does to spiritual traditions. And that's why both of those traditions use it, in my view, right? Because in fact, it's hinting at an aesthetic that is recognizable in different places, in different contexts. Now, the fact that we both use the same word for it may be a source of confusion, because, yin yoga doesn't have an equivalent law to the first law of thermodynamics. Traditional Chinese meridian energy theory doesn't have equivalent mathematical notation. We happen to live in a system right now where the dominant power goes to things that have a mathematical notation. But that hasn't always been the case, and probably it will swing back the other way at some point in the future, right? At least in my view. So for me, energy as a concept is really potent, because it's almost like the intersection point where the poetics of science kind of meet up with the poetics of spiritual traditions.
You've talked about what you call model fluidity. So you are also making here a sort of plea that both these languages, these models of reality, mathematics on one side, spirituality and mythology on the other side, should both, in that sense, don't want to make a truth claim, and we should accept the fact that they're fluid. Is that so? Right.
Yeah,
when we talk about model fluidity.
Yeah, I think this is like this. I don't think I invented that term. I mean, I think the fathers of quantum mechanics talked about the complementarity, right? So how is it possible that in certain scenarios I can describe something as a particle, and in other scenarios I can describe something as a wave? Like, why is that? And well, one of the solutions to this is saying, well, you just do it that way. You just be comfortable with the fact that multiple descriptions of a thing can coexist at the same time. And Niels Bohr called it complementarity. And it's that you just have a suite of different models. You accept the fact that there's no grand answer to anything ever. But you have a suite of different ways of looking at things, and the role of the sort of creative person is to pull out the right model for the right situation.
As a tool almost.
Yeah, as like the analogy of language, right? It's like a lot of philosophers and a lot of scientists, they get in these big arguments about which is the right way. I mean, I don't know, maybe because I float quite freely between artistic practice and spiritual practice and scientific practice. I don't understand what's the argument. I mean, we have a whole set of different languages for describing different things. And certain languages are better adapted for describing certain things than other languages. So, you know, for example, like if you live in the Peruvian Amazon and you want to describe like the sounds of the fauna that live there, you speak Quechua, you don't speak German. Because Quechua is a better language for it. If you want to describe like mechanized engines, use German because that's a better language than Quechua, right? So like. But to argue which is correct is like neither one's correct. Like they're both describing different aspects of the sort of infinitely creative matrix of what is. And sometimes one's better than the other one.
It makes me think that sort of your translation of the near-death experience into a VR experience is one way of sort of like communicating, translating that experience. Into new symbols. I'm curious because you have done it many times. It has been done worldwide, and you've done a study in which you've asked people similar questions that are asked after having had psychedelic experiences. And those outcomes I found fascinating. Could you tell about sort of that research and the outcome?
Yeah. So we developed this new modality VR stuff over several years is being developed. It actually has its roots in like an earlier digital artwork that I made, which is called Hidden Fields, where it was like a mirror. It's like a mirror where you'd see your reflection, but you'd see your reflection as light, not as a person. So this piece toured all over the world. It was seen by like 200,000 people on 3 continents. It's still set up in the lab in Santiago. And basically what you experienced earlier in the new modality VR is kind of like the VR version of that earlier piece. And so we've been like I've been working on these pieces for a long time with a range of collaborators. And we were getting really interesting results back. So just like anecdotal results. When we would show it in an art context, people would often come up to me. And, you know, this was in like 2013 or something. People would come up to me and I would be at the gallery for the premiere, the art party, the opening party or whatever. And then people would come up to me and they would be like, you know, I love this piece. And I'd be like, well, what do you like about it? And it would like really made me think about my own mortality. I was like, what are you talking about? It made you think about your own mortality. Like, I wasn't thinking about that when I made it. I was just making something. But this came up a lot. Like, people would have these very deep experiences when they would see themselves sort of re-represented as energy and then kind of dissolve into the matrix of everything else. And so then when we ported that into VR, the experiences just became sort of a bit more potent because VR is an environment where if it's done right, it has the possibility to just focus your attention a bit more than maybe a 2D format. Yep. And I was getting these results. So these results, the quality of these, like, I don't know, call them VR trip reports, right? People weren't taking drugs, they were just doing VR, but they were starting to reliably say things that were like really powerful.
And consistent.
Yeah, and I was looking at them, and I was like, "This is really interesting. We have to try to do something with this because this is like it was an art thing. I mean, we were just doing it as an art thing. Like we would go set it up at art galleries and show it and go to parties, and it was cool. But it was like there's really something going on here. And this was kind of I made friends with some of the guys that were at Imperial College in London at the time who worked in the Center for Psychedelic Research. So I became friends with Chris Timmerman, who's a researcher there, and another guy, Robin Carver Harris. And I started showing them some of what people were saying. And they were like, wow, like, dude, you're getting this in your lab in Bristol? I was in Bristol in the UK at the time. And I was like, yeah. They were like, well, why don't you try measuring it on the same scales that we use to measure psychedelic experiences? Because a lot of what you're showing here looks very reminiscent of what people say after psychedelic experiences. And so I had never published a neuroscience paper. I had never done a psychology experiment. So it's like, okay, so can you show me like what to do? How do I do that? Like, the things that we have to do. So they showed me all the stuff we had to do, and then we did a study and we used all the same questionnaires that are used for psychedelics. And then we did the analysis, and we published this paper in we published two papers, one in 2020 and then a follow-up in 2022, which basically reaffirmed the results that the answers that we got when we analyzed what people said on all the questionnaires that are used to analyze psychedelics. And then we compared the scores that we got after people experienced psychedelic VR. We found that people gave results in a very consistent way that's now been replicated by a number of labs across the world that show that the results are basically comparable to like a moderate dose of psilocybin. And so, like, I am not saying that our VR experience is an acid trip or a psilocybin trip. I'm not saying that. Or an ayahuasca. It's clearly different. In one case, you're eating something that is crossing your blood-brain barrier and causing changes in your neurochemistry. In this case, you're doing something that's purely visual that maybe also is causing some changes to your neurochemistry. We don't know exactly. But the point is that after an hour-long, after a 40-minute VR session or a 6-hour psilocybin trip, when you kind of measure people's responses, people seem to have very similar perspectives, at least on the questionnaires that are used for psychedelic research. So, a skeptic could, an optimist could say, well, that's great, we don't need psychedelics, we can use VR. A pessimist would say, well, maybe this just shows us the limitations of the ways that we measure psychedelic experience, right? Which is a totally valid thing to say.
Yeah, well, you yourself have done both, and I myself have done both. How would you compare it to? I agree that to some degree it is the same experience. It has to do with boundary dissolution, as McKenna called it. And what is truly new and has a huge potential, I'd say, is that this is an intersubjective experience. That you're having the same experience. It's a group experience, and of course you can do psychedelics in group sessions. But how do you compare those two? Because I think this is something new in that sense, but it has huge potential because of its intersubjectivity.
Yeah, I think that if you look at what people talk about after they experience psychedelics, they talk about something like feeling a sense of unity with themselves, with others, with the world around them. Yeah. They talk about a sense of awe. They talk about a sense of the sacred. They talk about a sense of, Aldous Huxley famously talked about isness. He looked at the flowers and you could see them kind of just shining with their sort of internal radiance and sort of vibrancy. They talk about often a sense of calm. They talk about a sense of insight. They talk about a sense of kind of reimagining their relationship to their thoughts and things around them. And I think that what we have created does all those things. Like, do I think I wouldn't say to you that this is the same as ayahuasca, or I wouldn't say to you this is the same as psilocybin, or I wouldn't say to you this is the same as LSD. It's not. Like, first of all of the drugs that I've mentioned, you know, just now, because I didn't talk about DMT or 5-MeO. DMT lasts for many hours. Our thing lasts for like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
So like, obviously, like if you've done DMT or 5-MeO DMT, the visual phenomenology that we've implemented in this environment is very different than the visual phenomenology you will experience on DMT or 5-MeO DMT. However, after people have those experiences, where the emotional state they're left in, and then the reasons they ascribe to that emotional state are similar to what we have created. And so, you know, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
So when we published the first paper, this is why we named it Pneumedelic, because when we published the first paper in 2020, we published it at a human-computer interaction conference, like the most prestigious human-computer interaction conference called CHI. It's like a ACM conference, and it was in Hawaii that year. 2020, April 2020, it was in Hawaii. And we submitted the paper for that conference, and then we won the best paper award for the whole conference. Out of like 3,000 papers, we were like selected as one of the best papers, and we were super excited because I had never published there. It was like this crazy project. Got the award, and so I was like excited. So I like rented like a cabin in the.
And of course, 61 minutes into the game, Warlock with 3 hearts, still jungling.
Oh, who's my daddy's little boy?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Herald.
Beach for a whole team. We were all gonna fly out there and like have a fun time. And then COVID came. So we never got to go. Which was annoying, but whatever. Maybe it'll happen again sometime. But what was I gonna say was that there was such a kickback after that paper then got some press. There was such a kickback from the psychedelic community saying, like, how dare you compare some digital, piece of crap to the power of psychedelics. Oh my God! It was like I got such nasty messages from the psychedelic community on this. I was like, wow. In some sense, I wasn't super surprised because if you Actually, when psychedelic research kind of first started up in the 50s and 60s, and they were showing, people can have these deep mystical experiences, actually, like the meditation people said to the psychedelic people, how dare you say that, like psychedelic, some cheap, dirty trick, like just popping a pill can take you to the same place as meditation, right? So everyone's always kind of poo-pooing the last thing, right? So like, the meditation people poo-poo the psychedelic people, and then the psychedelic people poo-poo the VR people. So if you see it in like the arc of history, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But the reason we called it Pneumedelic was specifically to create some distance with psychedelics, because I don't think it's a psychedelic experience. It's different, but it's doing something that's similar to psychedelics, right?
And honestly, when we zoom out, what it also does, and I find beautiful, is that we live in a time where that sort of reflex you're describing, many people have that with technology in general. I mean, we can sense also in our communities, like AI, seeing it as something dangerous, right? As a sort of danger, because many people claim that it might be conscious. I don't believe it's conscious. I don't also see any scientific reason to think it is. But we see this sort of this danger, and it's always has with the latest technologies. But your work also proves to me that the technology can instead of create more separateness, isolate us in our own echo bubbles online, unite us and have these beautiful transcendent experiences, and that I find very hopeful. Is that how are you on that view when it comes to technology in general and sort of transcendence?
Yeah. Well, I think. Oh man, you opened a can of worms here. Well, so one of the things that distinguishes our technology from most forms of technology is like we're not trying to sell you anything. So I really mean
you could have charged me a lot.
But I really mean this. We're not trying to sell you anything, because so like a lot of technology is very creepy when you want to sell people something, because like a lot of our alienated modern techno surveillance industrial complex is a result of the fact that we want personalized profiles so that we can like do targeted advertising. It turns out if you don't worry about that, you can do really beautiful things with digital art. Like really beautiful things. Like I've been doing that for a long time, and we've like this piece that you've experienced is beautiful and wonderful. I actually think the predecessor of Hidden Fields is also a gorgeous piece that used technology to connect people in a beautiful way. And so I mean, technology.
I never looked at it like that. That's sort of the potential technology is gauged by that surveillance.
Completely. And I mean, this is the direction AI is going. I mean, completely. Like we have the whole internet and all of social media to train algorithms to like do personalized stuff. I mean, this is the direction it's going. It just gets super creepy in a hurry.
And with your understanding of technology, and having done this, what could AI be used for? What would sort of like a true technology be for you?
For me,
the word is a bit creepy, of course, like
utopia.
But I mean, how?
So I guess before we talk about this, the first thing I'd like to say is the word technology. Let's liberate the word technology, which so it comes from the Greek techne logos. So logos is translated as word in Greek. It's like language, logos, the same word we get logic from.
Yeah.
Techne means the art of
craft.
The craft, exactly. So like if I like to think of the word technology as like basically like the art of logic. Right? For some reason, the word technology has in our modern world now become synonymous with microprocessor technology. In silico like microprocessor fabrication is what people, when they say technology, that's what they mean. But like the word techne logos is much broader than that. And so in fact it's an art word. It's a craft word. It's about craftsmanship, and it's an aesthetic word. And so the first thing I would like to do is just like I mean, it's probably impossible at this stage, but I can still say maybe when we use that word, we could be a little bit more conscious about what we actually mean. So I think for me, techne logos utopia would be one where like we can use the same systematic approach that we use for scientific experimentation or empirical sort of insight to apply to creating beauty. Like that. Like you can be empirical about creating beauty. Like you can make an artwork, and then you can show it to people, and then you can like listen to what they say, you can get feedback, and then you can like workshop different ideas, and you can iteratively improve it in the same way that you would with an experimental physics experiment or a chemistry experiment. You do it the exact same way. You can take that same way of thinking to scientific domain or any other domain. Like that method of thinking, that craft, that logos that would drive the sort of evolution of the craft can be applied in any circumstance you want. So I think for me, like, if you ask me what's a technological utopia, it would be that. It would be where people are using like sophisticated, cool, new, innovative methods to create beauty. That's how I would say it. That's probably not what you meant when you asked me about how do I say AI being used in a technological utopia. I mean, I think like
it was a bad way of asking it, but your answer is wonderful because I never thought of also that honest scientific inquiry as a method to apply that in arts, where we often think as the artist. We've created this myth of like the intuition coming through and not the hard work. Of course, every artist knows he has to put in hard work. But as you just said, bringing that like almost empiricist mindset to art, I love that sort of how you bring those two together. And on already the impact you're making, so you said, okay, we see that this experience is similar to people having an experience of oneness. Is it already being applied, like therapeutic sessions? I can imagine people with fear of death, for instance, having this experience might sort of be alleviated. Is it used in that way already?
So we got some support from the Tiny Blue Dot Foundation to run trials to investigate whether it can be rolled out in a therapeutic context for people that have recently had a cancer diagnosis. And so we're working with the University Hospital in Santiago de Compostela with the oncology department. So when people first get like a cancer diagnosis, they often have like a lot of fear and anxiety that arises immediately, right? Fear of uncertainty, fear of what will happen to them, fear about what will happen to their family. And there's an enormous amount of anxiety that often accompanies that diagnosis. And so what we're doing is we're working with the psychologists in the oncology department to offer this as a potential therapy for people that first, an optional therapy for people that first receive a cancer diagnosis, to give them an opportunity to really kind of go into the source of their fear. And so the experience we've developed is called Clear Light. And this is an experience that was developed a couple years back, and in collaboration with my colleagues Justin Wall and Joe Hardy and Gregory Rufa and Sergey and various others. But we did a pilot study with American in the U.S. with American patients, and these were people who sort of self-identified as having a life-threatening illness, and then we did this. It's like it was 6 modules of 6 different new modality modules. It kind of takes you through a journey, gives you the opportunity to kind of meditate on your own mortality and kind of go into the source of your fear. And the results that we found from the small pilot study that we wrote were really encouraging. So we found that on a number of the scales that psychiatrists use to kind of analyze where people are at in terms of their fear post-diagnosis, we found significant improvements on a number of these scales. And so on the heels of that work, we're now running a larger scale. We're trying to move beyond the pilot phase to a proper randomized controlled trial that we're running in Santiago de Compostela to see if we can reproduce those results on a larger scale. And at the moment I'm working with Dr. Kathy Andrew, who I think you met earlier today in Experience. She's the sort of senior scientist, postdoctoral researcher that's running that's responsible for managing those trials. And she is analyzing the first results that are coming back, and so far it's looking really encouraging. It's looking like it's helping people a lot. And so I'm excited about that because I think a lot of the personal motivation for doing this project was that I felt such a transcendent sense of peace when I had this experience, perceiving myself in that way. And I think you got a glimpse of that today also.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you got a sense of that, right?
Absolutely.
And so I guess the goal of the project is really like, well, how can we construct, like, how can we use, you know, the affordances of our time, the poetics of circumstance, call it what you will, kind of like what we have available to us now to transmit that experience to people in a way that can hopefully help them. And so far it seems to be working quite well. It's been very interesting to do that where we've had to adapt. Because how cultures think, how people think about death varies a lot depending on their culture. And the dominant religious values of that culture and sort of the way that, you know, what's acceptable for conversation is extremely culturally variable. And what we found is we had to change a lot of the clear light experience. The clear light experience, the clear light experience that worked in the U.S. When we tried to just do a direct translation of that for the people in Spain, it did not land well. In a certain sense, we had to be much more secular in Spain. And I was slightly surprised by that because, you know, Spain is a Catholic country, and I think there's this...
But in the experience itself, or how do you sort of guide people through it? The experience itself, I'd say.
Well, no, but what you experienced today was you experienced a different experience. So no, it was different. Before, I would say for the American audience, we lean much into a narrative of mindfulness and meditation, and that narrative did not land with the Spanish. And what landed much more with the Spanish was a narrative of matter and energy. Just actually a narrative of matter and energy, starting from quantum theory, being like, we're not gonna get into debates about mindfulness, you know, Buddhistic ideas, many of which have become trendy in Western therapeutic experimental contexts. We really had to roll it back to matter and energy. And we found that landed much better with people. I can't claim that I can sit here and tell you why those differences are, but I'm absolutely fascinated by this, and I would love the opportunity to deploy the experience to more translate it into more languages and test it in different cultures and see what the differences are, because I think this just gave us a glimpse of the complexity. But also encouraging, because what we found was that new modelic aesthetics worked. We just had to frame it in a slightly different way for people to understand. It was the framing.
The essence of the experience. I can imagine it's very much the same. Because that's also what MD experiences worldwide show us, that in essence those experiences are very often the same. And to me, David, I thought also nice to sort of wrap everything we discussed so far, because you started with your own personal experience and you were wanting to let go, and I had that experience today also, the pure beauty of becoming one with the people around you, returning to that oneness, and to me, it felt just like relief, like I felt like the low entropic state of us sitting there fighting off entropy in our universe. Like, that's what life does. It's amazing, but it costs so much energy. I mean, I'm talking to you with a broken voice. It's so much energy involved, and then to just let go and the bliss of that, and you feel like you somewhat feel that's home. But on the other hand, you also feel that the universe wants this, you and me sitting here. How is that sort of boundary for you personally? And you struggle with it like daily, the oneness versus the stakes, or have you found like this stable point? I'm just curious how it works for you. For me, it's still a quest.
I mean, what I like. This is an idea that comes up. I didn't invent this idea. This comes up a lot. I probably know about it most through Alan Watts, but this idea that we're all of us organisms, whatever organism we are. Any like limited instantiation of the finite. We're finite, right?
Yeah.
So if you're infinity, if you are the if you're the superposition of infinite possibility, the complete black space, which is not nothing but everything, you are the infinite creative matrix. By the way, the word matrix in Spanish translates as matriz, and the word matriz in Spanish also means womb. So in Spanish it's beautiful because the word matrix means something that's infinitely creative, and so I really like that. So if you are infinity, what are you going to do? Well, the only thing you can possibly do is explore all the infinite ways it means to be finite. Like that's literally the only thing you can do. Right, so we started off talking about yesterday we were talking about how everything is relationally defined, right? Like every concept only makes sense in terms of its other concepts. So something and nothing, and black and white, and like unified, and distinct, and whatever. So if you're infinite, you can only understand yourself as infinite if you experience the infinitely varied ways of being finite. So the only possible thing that can happen, is that you just have to play in the universe of the finite.
Yeah.
And so that's it. So if you look at it that way, then each of us is kind of just like a little aperture through which the cosmos is trying to experience itself in a different way. So maybe I experience myself as a bug over here for a while, and then I experience myself as a bird over here. And they're all like peering in at I always think of it like a sphere. And a bunch of little eyeballs in the sphere, and they're all peering in. And like the one thing they can't see is what's back here, right? So it's like the classic image of the dog chasing its tail, right? You can't ever see what's back here, but it can see what's in here. Right? You can see all the other organisms, but it can't see beyond that.
The hide and seek.
Right. It's exactly. It's like the eternal game of hide and seek. And so,
didn't he also say, which I love, is that he said that. Let's say the first 1,000 explorations of finite states, being that infinity would be, I want to be the ruler of it all. I want to be the prince.
I think that was another thing he was talking about. He was talking about if you could dream any dream that you wanted, you would dream pleasure for the first, 1,000 times. For the first 1,000, he said, imagine you could dream multiple lifetimes every night. Well, what would you do in your dreams? He says, first thing you try to do is you try to have all the pleasure you can. I would live in a castle. I want to be the king. I want to have sex with all the people I ever want to. I want to eat good food all the time. I just want to whatever. And then eventually you get bored of that. You say, let's have a little bit of risk, right? So you'd say, okay, I'm going to dream something where maybe it's like the outcomes are not exactly certain, right? So I put myself at risk, right? And then he kind of goes through this thought experiment. He says, well, where you led as you'd be dreaming right now exactly what you're doing right now, right? Talking to me, talking to you, being in this situation here, not feeling so good, not knowing when you're going to get better, knowing your mortality's on the horizon.
Oh, and if only we could always laugh at it and see the beauty of it, because I think there's so much beauty when you sort of can just breathe out and enjoy that and be with that and don't fight it, right? And just
you also have I definitely believe that you'll have. This is one of the things I like about Buddhism is there's the if you don't get it right this time around, you have a lot of chances to keep going around. So it's not the same kind of pressure to get it right this time around as there is in a Christian paradigm, for example. So,
of course, the karma story, but beautiful. David, thanks so much. It's been like very fun conversation. Sorry for my voice.
No worries.
And for you watching, sorry also for my voice breaking down a bit, but there's a lot of beauty in everything you said. And thank you so much for the VR experience. And we'll put links down below in the description of this video. And I hope soon people can see your experience, this pneumatic experience. Is there sort of any timeline for that, or is it still will it remain like a niche?
We're like a small group of people that's trying to figure out ways to make this sustainable, and we don't have very good ideas. If any of your listeners have good ideas, then please get in touch and help us figure it out. I mean, every time we do these experiences, there's an incredible amount of interest, and people love it. People start breaking down in tears. I mean, I was telling you started crying today during the experience. I mean, that happens to about 20 to 25% of the people break down in tears during these experiences, or it's very common, right? I mean, so. They leave a really potent impact on people. I don't necessarily have ideas about how to make it sustainable or widely available. Like, we're a small group of creative people trying to do something in the world. And if you're listening, there's smart people out there that know how to do these things. So if anyone has an idea, by all means, get in touch.
All right. It's noted. Thanks, David. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
I don't see that education is going on in schools. I don't see a lot of healing happening in hospitals, and I don't see a lot of food being sold in supermarkets.
Can a wrong theory about consciousness negatively impact our lives? I was on my way to Barcelona to talk to a physicist and neuroscientist who is convinced we are more than our brains and bodies. But he experiences a pushback.
So you can bring all the data you want about terminal lucidity, NDEs, UFOs, survival in many ways. When you bring 1,000, these dogmatic skeptics say it's anecdotes, but 1,000 materialism should have died in the 90s at the first consciousness meeting. The Windows 95 cannot support the new apps. They've been selling materialism in the name of science.
If materialism is true, consciousness can be engineered. We can be engineered.
The transhumanist agenda, to me, is a very dark force. It's a force that wants to extinguish humankind while telling us it's going to be great. We must understand why and when the physical system can be conscious before big corporations or government just plants in the minds of lay people that, of course, because it smells like a duck and it moves like a duck, it must be a duck. We're going through some sort of consciousness war, different forces pushing. Anything that smells like non-materialism, they'll go and kill it. If you think I'm wrong, lucky you. You live in a different world.
Warm welcome at the Essentia Foundation. We are at the Science of Consciousness conference in Barcelona. I'm sitting down here with, you just said it's okay, I introduced Alex Gomez-Marin, French, but it is Alex Gomez-Marin.
Your sound of my second surname. Yes, no problem. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Very nice meeting you. You said theories of consciousness are like toothbrushes. Everyone has one, but no one wants to use another one.
Yeah. It's such a glorious metaphor. And that's true when I read it, it's more true now. We went from a stage where, and I'm simplifying a little bit the history of consciousness studies, but where consciousness wasn't an object of study, it was taboo. I mean, people have done it in the underground, and they will always do it, but the orthodoxy until Francis Crick came and blessed the field in the 90s, and now consciousness is not the C word anymore. And now with for instance, Robert Lawrence Kuhn's landscape of consciousness, we can actually see that there are more than 200 options classified in different isms. So we went from very small signals, the very small noise in consciousness studies, to today, which is kind of the Wild West, like a lot of signal, that's good, but so much noise. So theories of consciousness now are like toothbrushes, and even worse, because everybody has their own, and everybody's kind of presenting their own theory of consciousness. Most of them, and we can get into that, I'm sorry for the monologue, most of them are not enough theories. It's like a chapter of the history of science that we can watch live, these consciousness wars that are going on.
Are they worse?
Yes, they're worse. Let's say things as I see them, but honestly and plainly. And we can talk about war in different senses, like in a more light and then in a more hardcore. Maybe the hardcore has to do with AI and transhumanism. Let's put it here, let's put a bookmark, and maybe we can go there later. But before, something that's notable about these. So this is my first time at a Science of Consciousness conference. This is the city where I was born. I've been invited as a plenary speaker, so it's like perfect, I'll go. But I know, I haven't been, but I know that the history of this conference, we all kind of know about it. It started in '94, it's like kind of the kickoff conference, but then it bifurcated, right? There's the ASSC, the other organization. And now we have two consciousness conferences. I mean, we have many, but we have two main. And this year, I think it's just fortuitous. There's no bad intention on either side. They're happening at the same time. We're here in Barcelona. They are there in Crete. I was actually texting Anil Seb. I'm sharing this, guys. Nobody's watching, but and I say, hey, Anil, are you at the other conference? Yes, of course I'm there. It's like, okay, we're kind of double twins here, right? And what's happening, it's just whatever. But this is more like the crazy shit conference. It's more open. You could say maybe it's less rigorous, but it's more open. And there you could say it's more rigorous, but less open. And I think with titrating this is very hard. So here we can talk about life after death, quantum consciousness, and there neural correlates, maybe a little bit psychedelics, right? So I'm saying this is a war, but this already shows that there are different intensities with which key questions can be pursued. Now then there are other wars, because science is made by humans, and humans have big egos, especially if they're scientists. And back to the toothbrush problem. If you've been carving your toothbrush for decades, are you willing to just break it when you see that the data doesn't support it? No, right? So science is advances also by ego and greed and frustration. So maybe the shiny side of this is to realize that science is very human. Then there's the ideological war. And materialism has been running this game for a long time. And now they don't like to have competition. That's why they also, for instance, mock Philip Goff, and they mock, panpsychism. I see problems with panpsychism too when you make consciousness a fundamental property. But this idea, so these glasses are conscious. Come on, we can be more sophisticated, right? So you don't need to strawman panpsychism in that way. Well, the same for IIT. And IIT is another thing that's incredibly remarkable. They try to explain it, but people don't get it because it's difficult. Also because they use language that conflates information a la Shannon with information that would be intrinsic, but they speak about the intrinsic perspective. So you see there's this iceberg, and below and beneath, there are these layers that for the cognitive plus / materialist people, it's like installing Windows 90, having Windows 95 and installing a new app in 2025. Just the system crashed, right? And so they just don't get it, and they get very angry about it.
You said in your talk that the hard problem of consciousness was just a rebranding of the death of materialism.
Yeah.
Basically saying that we shouldn't, let me just say what I think about it, by calling it a hard problem, hard problems you can still solve, and we shouldn't have called it a hard problem. We should have said, okay, materialism just died. Is that what you...
Yeah, that's it. I felt like saying it kind of honoring David Chalmers 31 years ago.
You want to honor him because...
Yeah, well, honoring saying... And I haven't met him in person, but of course he's a legendary figure. So huge respect. But I also say, what an incredibly intelligent way of realizing that if we start studying consciousness, materialism has to die, because materialism just negates everything that consciousness brings on the table. And we could talk about this more profoundly. Like it's just so. The beginning of the study of consciousness, scientifically, I think should have been the death of materialism. But rather than saying it's dead, now we say we have this hard problem, and now we have a lot of work to do. So it was like taking promissory materialism and giving it a loan for 100 more years, right? But that was strategically very intelligent because now you throw some meat through materialism. And then, okay, like the psychologists didn't dare to do it 100 and so years ago. Well, now the neuroscientists think, all right, it's a matter of studying the brain and figuring out a bit more, and eventually consciousness will emerge somehow, somewhere. And so this has been the last 30 years. So I know the hard problem can be phrased differently, but actually the hard problem is just phrasing a miracle and then saying, let's turn that into a research program. And for instance, I'm friends with Anil Seth. He's my favorite materialist friend since I met him in person at a private symposium. I love the man, but we disagree strongly. And well, you see, for them, he calls this the real problem. Let's continue. Let's not talk about such a higher metaphysical impossibility. Let's just get on working on it, and we will eventually solve it. Right? But this is promissory materialism. So as long as we have on the table options for other isms, that's fine. But if materialism is a predatory system that doesn't let other isms express, we have a problem. So I said that because the hard problem was, I would say, a covering up of the crime scene where materialism had died. Now,
but the thing is, sorry to interrupt your wonderful monologue here, but when thinking about the harp, I understand the harp more or less. You, of course, understand. Everyone here understands it, so it's sort of jargon in the consciousness research world. I think one big problem with it is that the public at large, a large audience, doesn't really get what the hard problem really is. I noticed that when just talking about with friends and family, because they will first, they don't know what consciousness is, right? So you there's a lot to explain. How does that work for you? Now we're talking sort of in talk, right? I was talking about the consciousness research community, and that's great. I'd love to continue, but I'm also just curious, one step outside of that, when you talk where you want, let's go where you want. Yeah, how does that work with you? Like friends who are not in, do you have friends who like, but Alex, what? I don't know what consciousness is. Or they equate consciousness with intelligence. Yes. I have all these conversations with my friends and family about conscious AI, and I notice how many steps I have to take back from where I am in this sense rabbit hole.
Okay. I have two things to say about that. One is maybe there's no hard problem for them. This is just to be a bit facetious. This is like a good branding for philosophers to have a lot of work and funding. But for real people, there are mysteries, of course. What am I doing here? If they be reflective. Any person who tries to imagine what happened before everything started has kind of a segmentation fault, like if you know what coding is, right? Like an error in their head. But there's no hard problem unless they've been indoctrinated. So this is maybe a sociopolitical part. Unless they've been indoctrinated forever with the Richard Dawkins of the world, or the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world, saying, life is nothing but right? Physics shows that, of course, the brain produces all these apparently scientific claims, which I think are ideological banners that have been hammered on the lay people. For years, because this is what most science communication has been doing. Now I'm so glad we're having this conversation and we have podcasts and we have all of that, because we have the possibility of many more voices, not just the 2 or 3 science communication celebrities. These guys that in the UK are called the public understanding of science. I think they do public misunderstanding of science because they've been selling materialism in the name of science. And so that has confused late people because they say, Alex, I don't know much about it, but of course my brain is doing all of that, or my genes are causing my disease, or my these neural circuits. Where is love? It's like when the hard problem is phrased as how is it that the brain gives rise to consciousness? How is it that the water of the brain gives rise to the wine of mental subjective experience? I would protest and say, wrong question. You're tricking me here because you're asking me how, and maybe the question is whether. And that's the question. This is simple word just as misdirected the conversation. So this is like an interviewer that tries to just trick you in the interview and ask you the question, or in a jury that says, but how did you kill that person? It's like, I could not even start replying because that would imply I killed the person. It's like, no, press pause, please. And that's more the job of the philosopher. But then the philosopher is taking that over. Okay, how can that be? And so it's very important to realize that trick. This is the backstage of science. It's like a concert. People see the stage, see the shiny lights, see the rehearsed performance, see the digest, see the old man on the white coat saying 3 seconds in TV, we now know that. But there's the backstage, there's what happens, right? And so the socio-political is that. And we should be aware that this exists and also tell it to our students, by the way. Sorry, I'm facing it again. But it's important because we say, get good data, have a good theory, and then you can walk. No, this is tool. If you don't realize that there are all these social-political forces, you'll be confused. Like, I don't understand. My research it's not having any impact. Okay, so maybe the third kind of war that we were talking about has to do with this. Now it's not only important to figure out other philosophical worldviews with respect to consciousness. Now it's urgent because now we have AI. And this is another big war. It's a big war of capitalism. I call it capitalist, like apocalypse and capitalism together. Because it's like they're selling us some sort of apocalypse in order to just sell us all the shit they want. That's the dynamics of this beast. So that's why I define AI as an algorithmic invasion of fascinating, dangerous bullshit. So it has these 5 elements, and the bullshit aspect is this monopoly, threat to democracy, capitalism. But that's the bullshit aspect. The fascinating is what we all see. It's truly remarkable. And many of us would have said, that's not possible until we see it. Now, the dangerous is the war. I think, and maybe I'm jumping to a topic, if you want to cover it, it's a bit dark, but I'll say it. And you don't need to read this coming from a scientist now. It's just Alex speaking. I think we're going through some sort of consciousness war, or even spiritual war. Different forces pushing, and the transhumanist agenda, to me, is a very dark force. It's a force that wants to extinguish humankind while telling us it's going to be great, it's going to be amazing, and we have no choice, right? And so consciousness is key here because we must understand why and when a physical system can be conscious, and we need to understand this from a theoretical point of view. Before, big corporations or governments or whoever just plants in the minds of lay people. That's why this is socio-political part we're talking about. That of course, because it smells like a duck and it moves like a duck and it walks like a duck. It must be a duck. So very some people will think that if you turn off their algorithm, you're killing their pet, right?
And just because that's quite something to say. I heard you say it on stage, like.
Yeah,
as a person it does resonate, but as sort of more trying journalistically and from a science perspective to cover it, I'm just puzzling how to reflect on that. The only thing I could say, if we would then have to make, you call it like that, the anatomy of evil here or there.
Yes.
Do the transhumanists, I do get the impression that they truly believe their own stories, right? Like it's not like inherent, like intelligent evil. This is not truly going to sell it to them. Do you think is that evil? That people like that Ray Kurzweil?
No, I'm not saying
he believes it, right? He wants to sort of bring alive his own father. Yes, his boxes. That's an old documentary of them. But
watch Star Wars. What happens to that character out of desperation and good force can become a very dark force. It's all in all movies, right? This is the most difficult topic to talk about, and I've only recently started to dare to mention it. But I think it's urgent again. It's not just interesting. It's not just important. It's urgent, right? And I know it's a leap. Maybe we're not talking science here, but evil is real. Evil exists in the world, I think, and it manifests. And we should try to see where and when it is manifesting. And so some of these technocratic programs that it's kind of a pseudo-religion dressed in techno-scientific language, whose program sounds very religious because it's immortality, redemption. That's like I had this experience, right? When I was asked to review Ray Kurzweil's book.
Which one?
The Singularity is Near.
I only read this Age of Spiritual Machines, but I guess,
yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
3.0. And I had this sense of I was doing some sort of intellectual dialysis. Like I was reading that blood was going through my system. Like, what is this man saying? And I'm not judging him. It's like, he really means we're gonna have sex with our diseased loved ones, brought back through a piece of hair from where we will grow a cyborg and then we will install. Like this is a horror movie in front of us, right? Or so there's a part of, I would say, technocratic pride, like technology has advanced so much that, as an engineer you're just enamored. But then it's philosophically and anthropologically so naive and so poor and sociologically so dangerous that so I started suspecting there. This is not just a different. Maybe this is the way of saying it. Here we're not discussing about what's the correct ism for consciousness, which is an important enough topic. This is even has higher consequences than deciding whether analytical idealism or pan-experientialism or dual-aspect monism is a better way to understand reality, a truer way. This is mandating changes on the human species. This is trying to edit the human condition. And those who are trying to edit it are a bunch of usually Silicon Valley types that they're not representing humanity, but they're toying with the human condition, right? So then you see even the tone of this conversation changes because I'm sharing where I am right now, my concerns, and they're raw, kind of naked here. But there's no time to lose in sharing this. We need more people to maybe discuss this.
Let me if I can bring it in, because why it resonates so with me is that it's been part of my journey into all of this also. I read, for instance, Shoshana Zuboff's The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, which is just such a sort of history writing in the moment, someone who documents what's happening, right? That capitalism needs to expand because it needs to exponentially grow. That's at the core of what it is. And once the physical has been fully conquered and put to market, it needs to go inward. So that book struck with me like, oh my, gee, capitalism now needs to conquer our attention, conquer our souls. And now it is a battle for consciousness in that sense. She doesn't go that far, but hearing you talk, it feels like, that's the next chapter, consciousness. Because if these machines are now intelligent, okay, that's already now it's about what is consciousness or not.
Yeah, the machine never stops. Never stops. The machine, capital M, like this kind of parasite of the human mind, which is once like this, the title of this other book I reviewed, More Everything Forever by Adam Becker. The title is great. It just encapsulates. It's like this idea of progress. I think maybe I'm rhyming here, but because there's the qualitative aspect is lost, the only thing they have left is quantity. It's more faster. And this more faster, as you were suggesting, is everything. It's not just conquering land, it's just conquering our mental space. And I would go and say even our souls. I mean, this is a big thing I'm saying. But I'm saying the battle is until the end. They're going there because it's complicated. But this trend, it's just going for it's going all in. It's not just jobs, our family relationships with social media, capitalism and democracy itself. It's our minds, and I think it's our souls. If you think they exist, if you don't think they exist, well, that's fine. And it's a okay. Let me now go back. And I was saying, this is relatively recently me, so I haven't said this 10 times. Maybe I've said this 3 times, maybe once in kind of public. So I'm still. I've decided I have to start saying it, but I don't know how to say it well yet.
Yeah.
So you'll see me like
thinking out loud.
And also, there are things I don't want to say yet.
In that machines want more. If we want to analyze that, the mechanisms at play there. For me personally, it would be the danger I'm already sensing that in preparing for conversations like this, AI is just amazing. I can use like previous conversations with you and let AI to analyze the questions and add to that. So and I make use of that, but I do see this might sort of make that you miss out on something truly novel that you could have asked if you had prepared for yourself. It's just dumbing down because you're only working with data that's already out there. So that would be one reason, but there are more perhaps. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's undeniable that it's fascinating, but this is a very shallow way of thinking. And it's thinly humane. It's so cool, but it's not about cool or spectacular. It's about very obvious everyday things, and it's going to sound romantic, but it's like, for instance, let's think about writing. Let's say writing. I write a lot, academics write a lot, I write papers and so on. I try not to use ChatGPT or anything for writing. And I think there are studies now that they start to show that it will dump you down, right? But also, this makes me reflect on why do I write? Of course, it's a means to express something, but the very process of writing has value in itself. I struggle, I grow, I have new ideas, right? So let's say I'm writing a book, and I know I could have it.
Paradoxical to me because obviously we live in an age of incredible abundance, and yet at the same time, I'm under the impression that young people today no longer feel the way I did, and almost everyone I know did when we were young, which is that we're certainly going to do better than our parents.
Yes.